Hey everyone, welcome to the Superhero Show. Daniel and Chris here as always. Now, it's the end of the summer pretty much. All three of this year's superhero movies have bolted. And we're going to go through and kind of rank them and discuss which is our favourite, which is our least favourite.
Yeah. It's interesting. We agree and we agree to disagree, so...
Yeah, I think we're unanimous in what the worst superhero film of the year is. So it's Avengers, Age of Ultron. Fantastic Four.
Yeah, obviously we've dedicated many minutes to this in the last few weeks.
Yeah.
But while it's still fresh in the mind...
No great surprise, I think. You know, we've spoken all year about where we were, that we weren't seeing any footage.
Yeah.
Any trailers till very close to release.
Yeah.
So all the warning signs, all the kind of rumours are coming out of the set.
But equally, I've been writing a feature this week just talking about a lot of the stuff around it and kind of trying to cast my mind back to how we felt. And in spite of the fact we didn't see anything for an inordinately long amount of time that suggested there were issues, when those first trailers got released, we were quite excited. We liked the horror approach. We liked the sci-fi approach. We liked the body horror aspect of it. We liked the fact that the tone looked totally different to what the MCU was kind of almost churning out at this point. And so we actually, you know, we trying to have some real optimism about it, which is why it makes it one of the most disappointing sort of superhero movies ever, I think.
Because the trailer had something the end film didn't have, which was cohesion. Like, all the stuff in the trailer comes pretty much from the first half or filters into that take.
Yeah.
But then the stuff that really jars is kind of when it kind of breaks down slightly in the kind of final act.
And equally, as we discussed last week, there's a lot of stuff in that trailer that isn't in the final film.
And more stuff, even since last week's episode, is coming out about where various things are from. The Ben Grimm mission was from him doing a black op in Chechnya, and a lot of it was filmed on handy cams. And there's this great image like of him being dropped from the plane, breaking up into separate rocks and then reforming. Yeah. And some people say it's very reminiscent of the first big action sequence in Iron Man, where he goes to the Middle East and goes on a mission. I think it's
a dangerous thing to do. It's unfair to sort of almost review the movie that wasn't made rather than the one that was.
Well, that's happened a lot with another film which we're going
to get onto. But and you know, who's to say that Fox didn't make and release the best version of this film that they could, based on what happened during production? I mean, we just don't know at this point, and I wonder if we'll ever see... I mean, Fox can make a bit of money off the back of releasing a director's cut of this down the line.
Arguably more, like the curiosity value now. If you could somehow get all this together in shape. But it feels like stuff was half finished, whether effects are even finished. But it'd be interesting to see how much they want to just put their hands up and do that. Because it's going to be quite strange when the Blu-ray comes out. It's like, any extra feet? No, nothing in it.
I mean, it's definitely the worst superhero movie of the summer.
Yeah.
Not far off one of the worst superhero movies of all time, but I think we even said that last week. I think there are much worse superhero movies out there.
Yeah.
There's a lot worse.
This, like, again, obviously it is a bad film, but more than anything, I think this is just a broken film.
Yeah.
Like, there's films that the director's done exactly what he wanted to do, the actors have given the performances they wanted to give, and you look at it and go, that's a bad movie. I think that's more like, you know, it's a bigger sin than this. This is just, they've managed to sellotape it together and put it out in cinemas.
Yeah, I think the frustrating thing with this, unlike something like Catwoman, is that there's a good film somewhere in here and there's some really good ideas, whereas Catwoman just has no redeeming features.
Yeah, and also on the flip side, whether there's a good film, and I think some of the feedback we'll get onto in the second half of the show, there is a good film in here. It's a different debate whether that's necessarily a good take on the Fantastic Four or if that's a good Fantastic Four film. There is elements of something, there's a vision in there, but it's been diluted and messed about with.
Yeah. I mean, unlike that Catwoman, at least there's one or two good scenes.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the worst. What is second out of the three movies?
Well, bit of disagreement.
Friendly
disagreement, because I think both Marvel movies are really good. I don't think they're at the top end of Marvel's output, and nor do I think they're kind of bottom. I think they're kind of top third.
We've done our ranking, haven't we?
Yeah, we did on Phase 2.
Yeah.
So we've said where we kind of think they are in the overall scheme of Phase 2.
Yeah.
But like in terms of which one's better, I think Avengers for me is like, it's the great big spectacular crossover event. It's like that thing in comics where everything gets just chucked together and it's spectacle. And I think my favourite of this year is Ant-Man, because after that it was a palate cleanser. It was a different kind of tone. I like the flashback stuff. I like the kind of filling back in the Marvel universe, and I liked what it suggested for things to come. You know, all along we thought Ant-Man, because of the troubles with Edgar Wright, and we're talking about people judging another movie that doesn't really exist. I feel like that happened a lot. And there's this tendency that anything's good in Ant-Man gets accredited to Edgar Wright, when anything that you don't like, oh, that's the new guys. When it's not the case at all. I think it's much more complicated than that. But I love the stuff at the end where he goes subatomic, and they're tapping into science as a form of magic almost. And I can see where he's going to go. And also this thing where Ant-Man felt like it's going to be like this small character at the side, and it's not really... Suddenly, Paul Rudd's a big part of the Marvel Universe. So is Hank Pym. So is Hope as well. And people saw footage from Civil War at D23 last weekend. It sounds like Paul Rudd's a big part of that footage they showed. He's got some of the best lines at the end of the footage, where he's like... meets Captain America and he's in awe of him, and he's like the awkward superhero. I think that's really cool.
And we've heard some things about what he gets up to in that movie that we're super excited about.
So I really liked Ant-Man, again, because I think the narrative all year was putting things down to place where if it wasn't that good, it would have very easy to have consolidated that like narrative and gone, oh, it's Marvel's first failure. Marvel's first flop, because look, shooting got pushed back. They've had this in development hell for Marvel, comparatively speaking, for 6-7 years. Oh, no wonder it didn't work out. And turned out it's a pretty good movie.
I really want to watch it again. I've said that before, and I should have done it before now. I worry that my expectations were a bit too high with this, which sounds ridiculous, because I think the general public wasn't really that bothered. But with this one, I liked how different the character is. I like how weird it is. I was hoping for something on a par with Guardians of the Galaxy. Just something totally separate to what was going on, and fun and exciting and novel. And it didn't live up to those expectations that I had. But I did really enjoy the film. I think it's funny that there's been all these this criticism of sexism has been levelled at Age of Ultron, when I think Ant-Man sidelines, Hope for quite a long time in the film.
And she is the only woman in the movie, really.
And they explain it, because of what Hank Pym wants for her and wants to protect her and stuff. But equally, like, all the way through that film, she is the best person for that mission, and yet she's training up this guy who maybe isn't necessarily. So I think that's harsh on one Marvel film this summer, and not on the other. But overall, I really enjoyed it, and I'm just still undecided where it sits in my kind of, ranking the Marvel movies overall. But I thought it was a fun film. But for me, I think Age of Ultron was the summer movie I enjoyed the most. Superhero movie. I think it's funny. I think people are forgetting the bad things about the original Avengers movie and not looking at the good things in this one. So it's kind of it's definitely the original Avengers is considered better, I think. Consensus, and I see them as quite similar films with good points and bad points. But overall, I really enjoyed the pulling together of all the different threads. I really enjoyed the introduction of Vision. I thought some of the action was terrific. Definitely, we're overseeing the big, invading aliens, robots.
Come up with a new final act peril situation.
I thought it was really funny. It's one of the funniest films that Marvel has released.
The villain was good. Something we level.
We really liked the villain. I thought the film came to life when he was on screen. Almost we wanted more of him, but the trouble is that you've got all these characters to juggle. So for me, in like a summer where maybe the standard wasn't as high as last year, I think that was my favourite. What are your thoughts? I
think I really liked it, and I also think it's Marvel. It sounds silly to say. It's Marvel at its most comic booky. As a movie, whereas we talk about how Ant-Man wants to be a heist movie, Winter Soldier is this conspiracy thriller. Ultron is a comic book put on the big screen. It's like one line of dialogue between two characters, because that's a panel and it gets across the relationship with each other. But because it's got to service so many characters, it's got an incredible pace to it. Even though it's a long movie, it goes through a lot. You learn a lot about these characters in these great scenes, like the picking up the hammer scene tells you a lot about those characters without really saying much. And I think Joss Whedon was the man to do that. I do think it's probably been the death of Joss Whedon.
Yeah.
I think he's done now. I think it's just, obviously we know that the Russo brothers are doing Avengers parts 3 and 4.
Yeah.
But I think he's made an amazing contribution to the Marvel Universe.
Yeah, and maybe it's not as a cohesive whole, it's not the best movie out there, but oftentimes I think superhero movies are less cohesive wholes and more films made up of great moments.
Yeah.
And there are quite a few great moments in Age of Ultron, more than the other films this summer, and so that's why I'd probably call that one.
All right.
But equally, I will say that maybe the best superhero movies this year weren't superhero movies. So before we came in, you said Secret Service was the thing like you enjoyed. Yeah, it was more Bond-like, but it was a Mark Miller. It was based on a comic book. We both adored that. And equally, I think the best superhero movie of the summer is Mad Max. In terms of spectacle, and he's like a superhero, isn't he? Really, he seems to be bulletproof.
Furiosa as well.
Yeah. So I think maybe the best of this summer were not actually out and out superhero films.
If only we could speak to George Miller about it. So that's what me and Chris think of this year's superhero movies. We want to know your thoughts. superhero@ign.com. I'm going to get to a bit of feedback right now.
Do it. Who's first up?
You go.
Okay, this is from Abdullah Ali, who says, first of all, big fan of the show, all the way from Kuwait in the Middle East. Wowza.
I always like it when people write in where they're from, even if we don't read it out. It's really nice to see like how far and wide people.
Unless you're from Croydon. Don't bother if you're from Croydon. And I say that because I'm from Croydon.
Yeah, I was going to say, you want to put that in a little bit.
Before sharing which is my favourite take on the Fantastic Four, I have to mention a point I feel very strongly about regarding Fox's and Josh Trank's Fantastic Four. I find it baffling, being a massive Marvel comic fan and reading Fantastic Four comics, how no one thought the dark, gritty horror take was just an immensely wrong direction to take the Fantastic Four. They are bright, colourful characters, a joyful family, full of spirit, hope and a wondrous sense of adventure. It was so dreary, morbid, sad and downright depressing, which is just a cruel way to represent these characters. Fantastic Four should not feel this way. Anyway, my favourite Fantastic Four movie would have to be Rise of the Silver Surfer.
Yeah.
Best of a bad bunch.
Yeah, I don't mind Silver Surfer. Quite like the Silver Surfer in it.
Yeah.
Doug Jones.
It is Doug Jones.
Yeah, and the voice of Lawrence Fishburne.
Exactly. No, agreed, Abdullah. Right from the beginning, this one was probably doomed.
Nice. Segue. Hi, I'm Sam from Texas. I have not seen the Fantastic Four failure of a reboot, but I am a huge Doctor Doom fan from the comics. What do you think the chances are of ever seeing a standalone Doom movie? And I think this would have to be part of the MCU, because it could only patch the hole in the MCU. It's basically, we talk about the villain problem in the MCU. He's a villain that is identifiable and relatable and just an all-round badass. Doom is a flawed man that does what's best for him and his country, which has included working with heroes before to stop Thanos, just try to steal the Infinity Gauntlet or somehow make a catastrophe work in his favour.
Yeah.
So they've used Loki a little bit like that, and I think they will in Ragnarok.
He's a brilliant villain. Who would we want to see play Doom?
Yeah, and I don't know if we mentioned that in this. That's one of the problems that Marvel are having with villains. All the best ones are elsewhere right now.
Yeah.
Like, all the Spider-Man ones they could probably use from now on. But Doom and Magneto are elsewhere.
Yeah, I think we got an email saying that was the... We always criticise their villains, and someone wrote in to say that's exactly why. Yeah, good shout. This is from... Adrian Crawley, who says, so if Marvel get the Fantastic Four rights back, wouldn't it be a great way to introduce and flesh out Doctor Doom by having the second Doctor Strange film be based on the comic Triumph and Torment? Can I swear, Rich? Am I allowed to swear? Okay, I got a thumbs up. Suspicious wizard film set in hell. Yeah. Who'd be able to say Marvel suck at villains after that? I need to read that. Have you read that?
Yeah, so there's actually not all that many great Doctor Strange graphic novels, or and that's one of them. Is this where he teams up with Doctor Doom?
Yeah.
I think that'd be great, because we were talking in the office about like team up movies, which are a thing in comics, and I think they're going to happen. It's going to happen on Netflix a bit with those Defenders characters. It'd be cool to see that on the big screen. And also, those are characters that really complement each other very well.
And they could call it Doctor.
And also great capes.
Cape Central.
Okay, moving on from Fantastic Four. This was going around a lot at the weekend. Joker is Robin. This is from Alex Lutkin. Just wanted to know your thoughts about new rumours that have been circling the internet that the Robin suit in Batman v Superman trailer belongs to Jared Leto's Joker. Say what? For he could in fact be Bruce Wayne's Robin and was taken by a much older, different Joker, and he then becomes the second generation Joker. This explains the age difference between Ben Affleck's Batman and Jared Leto's Joker. Although we did this on a previous show, there's actually no age difference between them. Even Leto might be older even. Yeah, it's just very youthful looking.
Yeah, it's it's a year or something.
Yeah, it's like it's negligible.
So this is something we did talk about, I think, somewhere, or I've spoken about it. Maybe I don't know on a Rewind Theatre on this show. Yeah, about him potentially being Jason Todd as well.
Yeah,
that's been something that's been.
Well, there's a few because he's got the J on his cheek, and the thing that people noticed this week was if you look on the suit that's in the trailer that says like "Jokes on you, Batman," ha ha ha. There's two look like bullet holes like in the shoulders, and then on the original picture that we saw of Leto's Joker with all the tattoos, there seems to be corresponding marks on his body. Would be a big coincidence.
I mean, it seems totally unlikely and unnecessary. But that coincidence is big.
Yeah. It's a big coincidence. Maybe he got them because he was very happy that he was commemorating it. I don't know. We should actually cut a video where Jared Leto's Joker goes to tattoo fixers. Have you seen that show?
No.
More on that next week.
So I think we bottled this though. Like we need to say yes, yay or no. Come on.
I think there's so much going on in those movies. It's quite high concept to get that across. But saying that, we're getting standalone Batman movies that could dig into that.
Yes or no, Daniel?
No, it's not.
All right, I'm going to say yes. So one of us will be right and one of us will be wrong. No, just so that one of us is a winner. This is from Corey Foster, who says, I'm a big fan of the MCU and the 5 Spider-Man movies, but I'm a bit ashamed to say that I've never read a single comic. With years of material and all kinds of different takes on characters, I don't know where to start. I want to read Civil War before the movie comes out next year, but I don't know how much I will be missing on character development, or if I should start elsewhere. So first, where do you think a good starting point would be for an MCU fan, and secondly, for a Spider-Man fan? Daniel, I'll let you tackle this.
So first off, I reckon you can read Civil War anyway.
Yep, agreed.
I know people who've read that, having never read a comic,
and
enjoyed it. It's self-contained. Just read the core series.
Classic Mark Miller.
If you want to dive in, I think there's an offer currently running. I think they extended it for a month where you can get access to Marvel Unlimited, which is like an online subscription service, for a penny. Because of Ant-Man, they did this promotion. I think that's still running, but if not, it's like something like £40 for the year, and pretty much most of the major Marvel stuff's on there. And there's like selected reading lists and suggested reading orders. So if you want to read a particular storyline, it'll tell you the order to read it, which is quite helpful.
Yeah.
And you don't have to buy loads and loads of stuff. But all that said, doesn't matter, because later this year, Marvel's relaunching its entire comic universe. I think in October. Post Secret Wars, and there'll be issue 1s of everything, so you can just jump on with a brand new issue 1. And comics are really good at, like, this is a problem that comics have always had with continuity, and good comic book writers are really good at telling you what you need to know, so you don't feel like you have to go back and read everything. But there's obviously great stuff that you can get on with through Marvel Unlimited, but otherwise maybe get your issue 1 in October.
Yeah, sounds good.
So the final one is from Adam in Portsmouth. With the new Fantastic Four movie being so bad and the Spider-Man movies only being so-so, does this show that A-list comic book characters do not always work on the big screen, whereas lesser-known ones like Guardians do? Do you think studios should try again, or leave the bigger characters to the comics and dig deeper into the more obscure characters to find another hidden gem?
Well, I think they should definitely do that. I'm all up for seeing lesser known characters on the big screen, or even new characters on the big screen, which we've discussed before, that are being produced by people like Mark Miller. You know, I don't need to see another standalone Spider-Man movie anytime soon. We've had a lot in the last 10, 15 years, and there's so many rich characters.
And I think kind of the way that contracts work and stuff, this will become, they'll have to. And we're getting this with the kind of phase 3. We're going to be getting characters like, you know, even though they're not super obscure, you're going to be getting Inhumans, Captain Marvel, Doctor Strange, Black Panther. Those kind of traditionally next tier down characters are going to get brought to the screen. But also, they also say, I think it depends on the treatment of the director.
Exactly.
I'm sure somebody can come along, it might be John Watts, can make another amazing, or maybe the best Spider-Man movie we've ever seen.
Yeah.
You know, Guardians isn't inherently good. James Gunn and that cast and that script and that treatment make it really good.
Yeah, and I've seen people say that you can't do the Fantastic Four justice on screen. This is why we've had bad films, because you can't do in movies what you can do in comic books. But I think you can now.
And there'll be someone out there who could think of that solution or capture the essence of something without doing it beat for beat. Oh, yeah.
You know, if you let Kevin Feige and Joss Whedon, the brain trust there, have a think about it, I think they could figure something out.
The big old brain trust. Cool. So that's it for this week's show. We want to know what you think of this year's superhero movies and what you think about next year's, because there's a lot coming out next year.
Yeah, next year. This will be a much longer show.
Are you ready? We're ready. Cool. That's superhero@ign.com. And until next week, for everything on Marvel, DC, comic books, TV shows, everything, stay right here on IGN.